Self-confidence is not an easy thing to talk about. We're all in different places, we all have different lives, circumstances, situations. It makes it really hard to try to give advice or give tips, and this is not gonna be a, hey, 5 things you can do to be more self-confident. But self-confidence is something that is very valuable. It's a huge tool. I mean, obviously it's something that most people want to have. But the good news is that you don't always need to have it right at the beginning. You can grow it and get more of it as time goes on. You can practice it and get better at it. So I'd like to share some stuff with you from my life, because I feel like that's the only way you can really impart this kind of information, is to just share experiences, and hopefully it's relevant and it helps you, because I can't just give you the solution. There isn't one. Now, I figure I probably come off as someone fairly self-confident. I mean, I'm doing a YouTube channel in front of a camera. It's not the most comfortable thing for a lot of people, but I used to be really, really not confident in myself. And I've been lucky because I have great parents, I have a great family, and they've always been very supportive, and so that was never the issue. But sometimes you just aren't confident, and that's just a thing, and that's all right. So what I want to do is share 3 stories from my life of moments that I felt were pivotal changes in the self-confidence world for me, either in a good or a bad way, what I attribute that to, and at the end I do want to share some things. They're not like tips that are gonna help, but they're things that I've done and tried, and I look back and I think that was it. Things that I feel like made a difference for me, in case they can help you. So something that you probably don't know about me is that until I think 8th grade, I had never had a single conversation more than 5 words long with a girl. And this is probably mostly because of my image of myself. I was really short, I had a really high pitched voice until I went through puberty, and I had nothing interesting going on. I was this nerdy kid with nothing much going for him. And that was just my perception of myself. Because of that, I never really felt qualified to be talking to girls in class, or, I mean, even if I had to like read aloud in class, like, elementary school, middle school, I got all clammy, I hated it. My heart was like racing because everyone was focused on me and I just did not want the attention. But this, I feel like, is still relevant even as you get older, because this never truly goes away. You just work with it and figure out how to change it. Because when you go to a networking event and you go to, you have to talk to other professionals, sometimes you don't feel qualified. You're like, I don't want the attention, I don't know if I should pipe up, I don't know if I can say something. You just get nervous. It's just, now going into high school, that's who I was. Coming out of high school, when I graduated, I was the school president, and I had to speak in front of the graduation ceremony. I had to give a speech, and I was super excited about it, and I had a great time doing it. That's a pretty huge shift from when I entered to when I left, and the main reason I attribute that to, I had taken all 4 years a class/club. It's a class, but you do a lot of stuff after hours too, so ASB. For those who don't know, at my school, we would plan the events. You'd plan the dances, you'd plan all the spirit rallies, and that kind of thing. So it was like student government with event planning mixed in. Now, looking back on how I came from a super, super shy kid with no self-confidence and really belief that I had anything to offer, that I was not interesting, like I legit thought, like, wow, I'm really not interesting. That was my main thing at that time. But that was actually the reason that I started doing parkour. Because I didn't feel like I was interesting, I wanted to add something that was special about me. Now, looking back, I think the main reason I had that big shift in those 4 years was because I figured out how I learn. And that may be a strange thing to pull out, so let me elaborate on it. As a student, I don't know if I was a good or a bad student. I wouldn't go to class sometimes just to do projects, to do the stuff for ASB and plan events. I just wouldn't go to class, and I'd just go sit somewhere and plan events, which is not correct. And then I would just sometimes not do homework because I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like it was a good use of my time. Even though it impacted my grades, I was just like, that's not worth it to me. I'm gonna do something else instead, and I'd make something creative. Now, at the time, I didn't think I was a creative person, really. I mean, I didn't think I was gonna end up doing something creative, certainly. I just thought, this is the better use of my time, I'm gonna do this instead. But I'd always work on projects. And it was through the class that I got to kind of channel that desire to make tangible things. Because homework, busy work, it's not worth it. But doing something that actually resulted in a visible end result is what satisfied me back then. And that was the first class that kind of celebrated that and guided me of how you go along doing that. And you have to work with other people and you have to talk to other people. The practice obviously is a big part of it, that you are forced to collaborate and work with people, which is good. But that's how I learned that project-based learning is for me, which somehow opened me up to be I can channel what's in my head into doing something, and I have an excuse to talk to people. I have a reason to talk to people. I don't have to feel unqualified. It's I have ideas, and we all have to work on the same thing here, so those ideas are relevant. So I should probably mention them and talk to people about them. So that's kind of how that wound up working out for me. And the main thing is that I ultimately got to be proud of what I had done, what I had helped with or created or whatever I was a part of, I got to be proud of it, and that helped. So by the time graduation rolled around and I had to give a speech, it was less about public speaking, which I had done lots of practice of in the class because you had to, and I hated it at first, but it ended up helping the practice of it. But it then became about sharing what I had learned, presenting what my findings were, and like things that I had experienced. And I love learning. It's a huge part of who I am, and that's when I kind of realized that. So to be able to repackage what I had learned and share it with other people so that they could learn stuff, that's what gets me excited about presenting and speaking. And that's what allowed me to not be nervous about speaking at graduation in front of, however many people, is that it was guided by this project-based, tangible learning process. Now that's great and all, but let's make a sharp turn. In college, super non-confident, like all over again. Totally different though, because it was no longer that I can't talk to certain people. It's just that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea what was going on in my life, and I was just like, I was not happy at the school that I went to. I went to this school near San Diego, and I just was miserable. I was also in a long-distance relationship with a girl from my high school, who at the time I was like, oh yeah, this is it, this is gonna be great. And it was horrible. Now fast forward to when we broke up, and it didn't end particularly well. It only then did I realize how not confident I had been, and how less and less confident I was becoming over the course of the first year and a half of college. So we were dating in high school to college. But without getting into the boring stuff that you don't probably care about, this person, the way I'm gonna put it is, you have two types of people in your life. You have builders and wreckers, right? In terms of building. You've got people who build you up and make you feel good about yourself and help, guide your life in a positive direction through their influence. People that you enjoy spending time with, and where ultimately it is good that you are with them. And then you have what I'm just gonna call in this situation, wreckers. People who wreck your self-esteem, wreck your self-confidence. They make you feel inferior or insignificant, and so on. That even if you do enjoy spending time with them at the time, when you no longer do and you look back, you go, why on earth was I spending time with these people? They were wrecking my life. Builders and wreckers, right? She was someone who would lie to her family about me, about oh yeah, he doesn't go to this school, he goes to this school, or he's not interested in this, he's interested in this. And it wasn't all the time, and I didn't even know about it for a long time, but there were pieces where or she just wouldn't tell people about me. And when I'd find out, basically that she was embarrassed of me for different reasons, it was awful, it made me feel terrible about myself. And so that would just kind of bring me lower and lower. So at that time I was basically just spending time, it was long distance, so I was at my school, which I did not enjoy. I didn't have any friends, I didn't know anybody, and I didn't want to know anybody. I was very unhappy there. Then the only other thing I would do is I would play video games, and I would talk on Skype, and I'd talk to my long distance girlfriend at the time. And I was like, oh, this is great, this is so great, I'm talking to this person. Meanwhile, not realizing that I'm just getting battered lower and lower in the self-confidence department. And then I'd play games. But I mentioned this the other day on my Twitch stream. I actually used to want to be a streamer. That's what I wanted to do. When I was little, I wanted to make games. As I got older, I'm I want to play games. And so when I got to college and Twitch was, that's when people were starting to become, careers were starting to happen on Twitch. And I thought that was awesome. And I wanted to be a part of it. And I had a couple friends that I had for a long time, and they would play a lot of games. I was like, hey, we should make a channel, we should do some stuff, we should play together. Partially because I was just lonely and I wanted to play with some friends, play games. But I was like, hey, we should see if we can make something out of this. We should record it, and we should put it on the internet, and you don't even have to put your faces in it. We can just have our microphones, and we'll have a nice time. And they were like, yeah, sure, I guess. And so I paid for the licenses. I bought the game for them, and I just here's the download code, jump on any time, because they play other games. But I thought hey, we should play a multiplayer game that we can we can enjoy for long periods of time, we can spend together. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And I was like, great. And when it came down to it, they'd never play. It's oh, let's meet up at this time, and then they wouldn't show. And then rain check, let's meet at this time. And then I'd be on by myself, and the guys are we gonna do this? And well, and eventually it was okay, we all got together, it's time to sit down, we're gonna play together. I hit the recording, and they just stopped talking. And I was like, guys, we gotta play, come on, and they're and then they're just running around and messing, they just weren't taking it seriously, and they just weren't interested in actually doing it. They just told me yes, so I'd stop bugging them about it, but they weren't actually interested in doing it. But rather than just tell me well, no, we don't want to do it, they were yeah, we could do it. But then ultimately what this ended up doing was just, I felt like, I had this thing I wanted to try, and I had, some of my best friends that were like, I thought supportive of the idea. And it turns out they were just like, no, like, dude, this isn't gonna happen. Like, I don't, sorry we didn't say it earlier, but this isn't gonna work. I don't know why you're trying to do this. It's kind of a dumb thing to do, and we don't really want to be a part of it. And it was kind of a sucky moment, obviously, but it just further bashed down the confidence of like, okay, well, not only do they not want to participate, because that's fine, but they really don't believe in me able to do this. And I believed them. I was like, well, I guess you're right. And so I gave up. I gave up on that, very short-lived dream. I didn't fight very hard for it, honestly. But and this isn't all to be like, oh, poor me. Like, obviously I'm fine. Things are good. Like, I'm happily married and I got some great friends now, but like, this was a point in my life where the people around me, my circle of friends, my circle of relationships, they were wreckers. There were people who were like wrecking my life. And it wasn't like it's their fault. It was me. Like, these were the people I chose to spend my time with. And, it's hard to sometimes realize those moments and to leave those moments. And like, I respect. I know that there's other stuff. But as far as my life goes, like, that was not a great time. And I wouldn't hang out with other people, either because, like, oh, I'm not gonna hang out with like new people. I'm gonna hang out with my friends. Like, we're gonna play games together. Like, it became a barrier to meeting new people. Or like, oh, well, we're long distance. I really shouldn't probably hang out with other girls because I don't want to make her jealous. Like, and so I didn't hang out with anybody. Like, it was a barrier where good intentions became a prison of me being trapped in the school I hated with no one to connect with because I wouldn't allow myself to, because the people I was already connected with felt like I couldn't branch out from them, and they weren't good for me to be hanging out with, and so on. Anyways, that was not good. When I basically stopped, when we broke up, that girl and me, and I was like liberated. It was this moment where like the first 3 days were just horrible. I like went and visited friends, and I was just like trying to keep my mind off it. I threw myself into school and into work, and I got an extra job, and I spent all this time doing other things. And then everything unlocked, and it was awesome. It was like I was finally free to do what I wanted to do, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I just did everything. I had to get a paper to fill out, I want to take 14 classes, and that's not true. I took 8 classes. But I took a bunch of classes. Some of them were needed, and some were electives and fun stuff. I took community college classes on the side. I started joining clubs. I formed a club. I just started doing things. I just started trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do with my life, because I felt like I had been this box. I was in a box I had no idea I was in until I had really just turned on the light and be like, oh, I'm in a box. I should leave. Wow, a whole world. I don't know. But my self-confidence shot up after that, because I was no longer surrounded by this circle of people that were kind of keeping me in. And it allowed me to branch out, and I found better people. I found people who actually liked me, I guess. I don't know. But so that was a huge change, and so that was actually very valuable. Now, one last little story, because I know I'm just telling you stories at this point. I don't even know if this is useful. I hope you're still watching, and keep watching, hopefully, because it's gonna get better. I have actual things that could hopefully help you. So you may know that I made a short film in college that went to the Cannes Film Festival, and then I fundraised through the school and all these different things, and I got to go to France to go to the film festival. For 2 weeks I was there. And it was really awesome, but the main reason I look back at that moment, I tell people oh yeah, I went to Cannes, and at this point it's kind of just a part of my history. I forget that that's a really big deal, and that I have to be oh yeah, I get to be happy about that. I get to be proud of myself for that. Because I hate the movie. I hate the short film I made. I can't even look at it now. I don't put it on, maybe I'll show it to you guys eventually, but anyway, it was terrible. I'm not proud of it. I'm proud of what it accomplished, sure. I'm proud of myself for making it, I suppose. And, well, I am. I say I suppose. I am. I'm proud of myself for making it. But the main reason I look back at that festival as being important to me was not because I made a short film, and not because I went to this prestigious event. It's because what happened to me when I was there. That was the first time, that event, those 2 weeks, where no one knew me. I was, I didn't have any I was meeting everyone for the first time. There was no personal baggage, there was no history. And it was the clean slate thing where it's just oh hey, nice to meet you. Oh, tell me about yourself. well, what do I want to tell you? Or like, what do I want to share? Like, I don't know, I get to pick and choose. And I feel like I'm taking that in a strange direction, but ultimately what it was like, I got to kind of define who I wanted to be, because I was always like, I was myself all these years. And I've always been myself, and I'm, same person. I didn't like change drastically after the event, but when I went to this event, it was really like, I wanted to find direction in my life. I wanted to figure out like what I was gonna do. I was still a computer science student. I was wondering about animation, and this was kind of the event that I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure out whether or not I'm gonna go into a filmmaking type of job or a computer science type of job. I hadn't figured out animation yet. And it was just this time where I was like, well, I can explore whatever parts of myself I want. I can figure out who I am because I'm just here to experience this event. And it was a great opportunity. And ultimately, yeah, like I got to like sneak into parties, and I got to, do all kinds of weird, crazy stuff that I wouldn't have normally done at home. It was a very different environment. And I have some really crazy stories that I'd love to share with you at some point. Like sneaking into Ryan Gosling's party. He had a movie party, and it's a whole thing. Anyway, I guess what it was is when I went to this event, no one knew me. I didn't have any real goals except for like figure out what I wanted to do. And there was another part which was like, I'll probably never see any of these people again, which, often leads to the Groundhog Day, like I can do whatever I want. But it wasn't that. It was just like, there's no risk. There's no consequences. And understand that when I say this, I'm talking about like, if I try to network with somebody or meet somebody and I do a horrible job and it goes very poorly, oh well, I'll never see that person again. They don't know who I am. They probably don't care. Like, let me try again and figure this out. It was like speed dating for networking. And let me be clear, it wasn't about like dating. It was very much like I was there to make connections in a business sense. I was there to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. I wanted to actually have it mean something. And so when I say speed dating, it's not like I was single now, woo, no. It was, everyone else was at the beach and going to parties and relaxing. And I did get to go to the cool parties, but it was all very much like, I should try to get into this event because there could be CEOs there. It was very focused. And it gave me the opportunity to just run around and be like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sir Wade, which I had never introduced myself as Sir Wade. In case you guys don't know, Sir is my legal first name. Wade is a middle name, one of two. And when I was in like high school, I used to go by Wade just because, it was weird as like a shy kid who was not confident to be like, oh yeah, that is my first name. Like I was just like, oh, you can call me my middle name, I guess. I was really, I got bullied for it when I was little. And so I didn't use it for a while. So in college, I was like, okay, well, I'll go by Sir from now on because that's what it caused a lot of confusion. And when I went to this event, it was kind of me putting two pieces of myself together of like who I was and who I wanted to be and like what I wanted to like when I was like, I'm gonna go by Sir Neistat, like I'm gonna go by Sir. It was me embracing like I'm gonna be more confident, but I didn't figure it out for 2 years after that until I went to this event and I was like, I'm gonna be Sir Wade at this event. And that, like, honestly, it was about me putting the two names together that I was like, I've never gone by this before. I'm gonna like, I don't know, I'm gonna, like, who is this person? Who is this person that I'm like piecing together? How do I take the old me and get rid of the parts I don't like and include the parts I do like? That's what this was for me. That's what this event was. And it represented. And so going around and introducing myself to people as, hi, I'm Sir Wade. And they go, okay. And I go, no, that's actually my name. And they go, oh, well, nice to meet you. And then we have a conversation. I don't know. I don't even know how this helps you. I just want to share it because I look back at this part of my life, this moment, this event, and it's so important when I think of my confidence and my self-confidence because that was when it happened. I was never really confident in myself until that event when there were no boundaries and I was just talking to people. I had no idea who they were and they had no idea who I was and it didn't matter. And I made some really good friends and, different things there, but that event is also where I figured out that I wanted to be an animator and I found direction in my life. And so it all kind of blended into this big experience that when I came back from it, I had a purpose, I had a drive, I had a goal I was working towards, and I don't know, it's enough weird things that happened on that trip, just like funny stories and like wow, I just accomplished more than I thought I was going to be able to. I was very proud of myself. And that's what helped when I came back. It was different. I was no longer like, I don't know, I could no longer have that experience every day because I was back in my usual environment. But somehow I still was able to take from it that I was proud of myself. And that's what kept me going in feeling good about what I was doing. So, now I hope you're still watching, I hope you're still here. Thank you for sticking around this long. I now want to get into the parts that I feel like I can impart to you, things I've learned that have worked for me, that I hope will work for you. I don't know if any of that other stuff was useful. I hope so. Let me know if any of that helped you, please, because I feel like I'm just talking about myself and I don't know. Some of the more important things that I feel like I've learned through all these experiences and others, your circle of your network, the people around you, they form a shell. Whether this is your relationship, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your club members or teammates, or if you do stuff like that, or even just an online community, which we'll talk about, this is your shell. This is the people that surround you, your circle. And you want that to be a good circle. If these people are wreckers and they're not helping, they don't support you, they don't believe in you, they're not actively making you feel good about what you're doing, and you have an idea, like, I have this idea, I want to do this thing, what do you guys think? I mean, you could do that. If that's what you're getting, if you're getting a lack of support from people, then you need to, depending on if it's your family, you're probably not going to cut them out of your life. If it's friends, you need to cut them out of your life. They're toxic and they don't care about you. They're not there to help you. They might be there for something else. If it's your family, maybe just spend a little bit less time with them, or don't talk to them about these things, or talk to them about these things and be like, you are not helping. Whatever you need to do. But it's not just finding good people, because that's hard to do. It's not easy to just find good people all the time, Ultimately, you want to have a circle of people that build you up, that are builders, that help support you and make you feel good, and that build your confidence. I know this is supposed to be self-confidence, but it is impacted by the people around you that you trust and that you care about, and you care about what they think of you, which you want to try to minimize, but be realistic. Not everyone can do that. So a lot of that is cutting out the wreckers and cutting out the people who don't help that in your life. It's hard, but it's necessary, and it'll make a world of difference, believe me. Now, aside from other people, when it's just you and you're working on your self-confidence and you're working on building yourself up, it's difficult when you don't, for me, I've found that it's difficult when I don't have a hobby or a career goal or a passion project or something, like a project I'm working, something that I'm interested in. I find that I don't have a lot of confidence in the times that I'm not doing those things. If you're someone who's like, I don't know what I'm interested in, I don't know what my hobbies are, I don't know what I'm passionate about, the way I've always tried to figure it out is when you're supposed to do one thing and you procrastinate and you do something else, as long as that thing is not hurting other people, that is probably a good indication of where your passion lies and where your interests are and what you should start to follow, and see if you can pull some stuff from that. So if you don't know what your hobbies or your passions are, think about that for a little bit and see if you come up with anything. The other important thing is just to try stuff out. Sometimes you don't know until you try it. It's the thing where people say, what's your favorite food? Well, you have to have tried enough foods to know what your favorite food's gonna be.
Favorite food?
Well, maybe oranges.
It's chocolate.
That's so great. I have a favorite food now.
So you have to try things. And sometimes even when it's just internal, having someone to talk to about this is nice. And so, whether it is a relationship, family, friends, your coworkers, your teammates, the stuff I said earlier, sometimes you just have to find an online community. Sometimes you don't have those people in your life, and I get that. So if this is something and you don't know where to turn, you don't know who to talk to about things you're struggling with, I do have a Discord. It's linked down below. It's basically a big forum. And there is a section of it called Struggling Artists. And even if you're not an artist, but if you're struggling with something, it's not meant to be like, hey, give me help with this software. Struggling Artists is an area where you can talk to people about your issues, and everyone's supposed to be there to just talk as a community and to help with that deeper stuff that you don't know where to turn and talk to someone. Just download if you want it, hope it helps. And the last two things are, here's a fun one. This is an easy one that's just kind of goofy. Wear a shirt that you feel comfortable in. Some people, I've never been into style or fashion really. Jess is, that's a big part of her. And for some people, when you dress a certain way, it makes a huge impact on how you view yourself and how you feel about yourself. And I never thought that was me. I never, I didn't ever care. When I was at the festival, I wore suits every day because that was you had to. And I loved it. I feel like that had a big part of like my confidence in terms of like, I'm gonna go meet people. I'm in a suit. Like I feel good. I feel productive. I mean, if you wake up every day and you're like laying on the floor moaning and you're like, I don't wanna do anything today, I have so much to do, I'm overwhelmed. Like I get that, it happens to me all the time. I kid you not, I did this once, I haven't done it since. Maybe I should. There was one day where I woke up and I was just not motivated. I looked at the closet and I put on a suit. And like I just like sat down at my desk and I worked that day. And I don't know if it really made a difference, but like I felt like it did. I was like, yeah, I'm wearing a suit. I didn't put this on for nothing, I better get to work. That's a really extreme, goofy case. And I mean, for me, most of the time, it just means I put on a shirt that I like. You may notice that a lot of times I try to wear a shirt that's related to the topic that we're talking about today. That's not the case, but I like this shirt. So, wear a shirt that makes you feel confident if you want to boost your confidence. Little things like that can help. And if I could give you one tip, one actual like piece of advice that you should apply to your life for this topic, it is to practice being proud of yourself. It's not always easy, but when you look back at things, your work, your life, things you've done, relationships, it's easy to look back and be like, ugh, that was dumb. Or, ugh, I hate that old piece of thing I hate that thing that I made, or whatever it is. You don't have to be proud of the artwork, but be proud that you made it. Be proud that you did it. Be proud that you did something and you accomplished something. Even if now it feels different, you've grown since then. So be proud of yourself then, so that in the future you can look back and be proud of yourself now, and just know that that cycle will continue. And so just look for the things that you're doing now when you're feeling down on yourself. Just look for things that like, I did that. Like that was awesome. Like, good for me. That type of repetitive, practiced thought is going to help somewhat. At least for me it did. But that's my tips. Surround yourself with good people and cut out the bad. Honestly, that's one of the biggest things you can do. Talk to people when you're struggling with stuff. If you want to talk to people, find a community in person or online. And on your own, just find little victories, small things. It's not going to be overnight that you find self-confidence, but you'll find little things here and there that are going to boost you over time. And one day you'll wake up and be like, oh, I feel pretty good about myself. Like, wow, I used to not have this at all. Now I feel pretty good. And that is a journey. And that's just a lifelong thing that we all have to do. I hope this video helps you do that. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, because I just wanted to talk about this and I didn't really have a plan for it. And I've been talking for a very long time, so I hope some of it helped you. Let me know down below. So yes, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thumbs up if it did make an impact on you, and I'll see you in the next video.